If you thought that recent horror films were getting too much publicity for being scary, well, in 1973, there was a movie that people actually passed out from watching. People had to be rushed out of theaters. Doctors, paramedics, and the press, they were all needed. The press labeled the film as the scariest movie ever made. However, what if the terror shown on the screen wasn't fiction, but something real? What if it was based on a true story? What if it came from a boy who was tormented by forces that nobody could explain? Tonight, we look at a case that has puzzled many, a case that may make you question everything you believe in, a case that has left some people afraid of Ouija boards forever. This is the story of Roland Doe, the boy who may have been possessed by the devil and inspired the Exorcist. In late 1949, a boy named Roland Hunkler was living in Cottage City, Maryland. At the time, he was 13 years old. Many described him as being a quiet kid who kept to himself. He was also very close to his Aunt Harriet, who was a spiritualist and an avid user of the Ouija board, but she tragically died in 1949 after her funeral. Roland missed his aunt dearly and wanted to contact her, so he used the Ouija board in the hope that he could speak to her. However, he didn't know what he was letting himself in for. In the beginning, nothing happened, but as time went on, strange occurrences began to take place around Roland. One moment he might be sitting peacefully and hear scratching in the walls. Then suddenly he would turn and see nothing. Other times he would hear knocking in the dead of the night. He and his family believed these sounds were simply rats in the walls. However, as time went on, the sounds grew louder and more violent. His mother would hear furniture dragging across the floorboards and picture frames shaking on the walls. Alarmingly, these incidents all happened when Roland was close by. One night, Roland's mother was awakened by these sounds and found the boy standing over his bed. That's when she noticed the scratching and realized that they had come from her son. He looked at her and said, "I don't know why it happens, but every time I go to sleep, the scratching starts again." The family was confused and scared. They couldn't explain why these strange sounds were coming from Roland, and it seemed that he didn't know either. Concerned, they reached out to Reverend Albert Hughes, a Lutheran minister, to see if he could help. And so he began to pray over the boy, but nothing happened. The scratching continued. It was almost as if a dark force was mocking the minister. Reverend Hughes soon gave up, stating that he didn't know what was going on and that he had never experienced anything like it before. After this, Roland's parents turned to the Roman Catholic Church for help, as they believed that the devil may have gotten inside their son. That's when they met Father Albert Hughes and Father Walter Halloran. Unlike the Lutheran minister, these two were ready for a fight. The two priests started to perform exorcisms over Roland, but it wasn't easy. During one of the ceremonies, the boy suddenly became violent, leaping from his bed and attacking Father Hughes. He slashed the priest's arm with a piece of bed spring and badly cut him. In fact, during the ritual, Roland exhibited superhuman strength, overpowering several adults who tried to hold him down. With this, Father Baudon realized that he was up against something powerful. The family soon decided that the best option was to send Roland away from his home and into a Catholic hospital in St. Louis. Here, Father Bowden and Father Halloran would continue the battle against whatever dark force was controlling the boy. Throughout their time in St. Louis, the priests performed more than 30 exorcisms on Roland. Every night they fought to save his soul. Throughout these rituals, they documented everything that happened, writing about the scratches that appeared on his skin, the levitation, the inhuman growls that he made, and how he spoke languages that he didn't know. They also wrote about how he mocked them, telling them things that were supposed to be private between them and God. As they performed the rituals, things began to escalate. Things would fly around the room as if thrown by an invisible hand, and pictures would fall from the walls. There was also a strange smell throughout the room, which has been described as smelling like sulfur. The priests felt exhaustion creep upon them, and it was as if an unseen force was sapping their energy. They also witnessed visions of what can only be described as the devil himself. Sometimes the boy's face would be contorted in a way that they could not describe, and they would see a shadowy figure loom over him. One witness even claimed to have seen the Archangel Michael battling this shadow. On April 18, 1949, the priests battled with the entity inside of Roland for over 30 hours. Finally, as dawn approached, things changed. The entity began to thrash about inside of Roland, and he convulsed violently on the bed. Then suddenly, he cried out, "Saint Michael," and the entity inside him seemed to vanish. The priests documented this moment, claiming that as soon as Roland said this, the entire room filled with light and the presence of God. Then suddenly, he slumped over, his eyes fixed on the ceiling. When he finally opened his eyes, he asked the priest what happened. They told him that the demon had left him, and from that point on, he appeared to be back to normal. After this, Roland returned to live with his family, but he was different. He didn't speak about his experience and the exorcisms, and led a quiet life. Those that had been present during the exorcisms never forgot the ordeal. The priests wrote about their experiences and what they witnessed, while others interviewed said that they had never seen anything so frightening. Not long after the story of Roland was published, a book titled The Exorcist was released. It was written by William Peter Blatty. Blatty stated that he heard about Roland's story while studying at Georgetown University. He said that he was intrigued by the case and believed that it would make a great movie. The Exorcist was a huge success, both critically and commercially. However, there were rumors that the filming of the movie was cursed. 3 major fires broke out on set, and several crew members and actors were injured. People even reported fainting, vomiting, and even dying in theaters when watching the movie. However, some say that these reactions were due to mass hysteria, and there is no concrete evidence that the film itself was cursed. Even to this day, debate continues as to whether Roland was really possessed by the devil. Some say that it was all in his mind, and that he created these events because of his psychological state. Others still insist that what the priests wrote is true, and they witnessed the devil himself during the exorcisms. The Roman Catholic Church has sealed Roland's file, meaning that it cannot be accessed by the public, so we may never know the full truth of what happened. When looking into the case further, we found that similar stories to that of Roland have been happening since the beginning of time. There are countless tales of individuals who have tried to speak to their loved ones using a Ouija board, only to have something evil enter into their world. We have discussed other cases on this channel and will continue to do so, but tonight we have focused on Roland Doe, as his story inspired one of the scariest movies of all time. So let us ask you, is there such a thing as a ghost? Do you believe that the devil exists and can possess humans? If you want to share your thoughts on this case, then please leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you think. Also, if you have any other scary stories that you'd like us to look into, then please let us know. Who knows, your story could be featured in a future episode. Before we end tonight's episode, we would like to thank all of our viewers for watching. We appreciate each and every single one of you. Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already. Now, without further ado, let's begin. Please give us a rating depending on what you think of our channel. From the quality of the videos to the editing and everything else in between. Be honest, we value your opinion and want to improve. Thank you for taking the time to do this. Now, it's time for bed. Remember, don't believe everything you see on the internet. You never know what could be hiding in the shadows. Have a good night.